Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing fine. Welcome to yet another topic of Class 11, for loop, and a very important one. Now, before I get into for loop, I would want to talk about iteration or looping structure. What does the word iteration mean? Iteration means repeating of certain statements in your program a couple of times, maybe 5 times, 10 times, but a finite number of times. For example, if I want to print the message, hello everyone, 10 times, one way would be write print hello everyone 10 times. Another alternative or shorter way would be write print hello everyone only once and put it into a loop which executes that line 10 times. So actually it'll just be 2 lines doing me the same thing that 10 print statements did. Is that clear? Okay. And in this part of the chapter, we're going to be talking about the for loop. I will just tell you there is another loop called the while loop, which also helps me in iteration. But here we will be discussing about only the for loop. It's called the counting loop. Now, why is it called the counting loop? Is basically the for loop goes like 1, 2, 3. You exactly come to know how many times that loop is executed by looking at the loop itself. And therefore, it's called the counting loop. Now, before I take you to the syntax of the for loop, I would want to introduce a function to you, a built-in function called the range function. I've spoken to you in my previous videos about len function, about a type, about IDE, print, input. They were all built-in functions. And one more here is the range function. Though we also learned some mathematical functions, but they were all present in a module. They were not called built-in functions. Okay, so coming to the range function, what does the range function do? What are all those 3 things that you see in the parameter? Parameter means the round bracket. So the range function generally takes 3 parameters: the begin value, the end value, and the step value. Now, if you see, I have written the step value in square brackets, which means it's optional. Now, why is it optional? I will just let you know soon. So all these values that you have written, the begin value, the end value, and the step value, they all must be integers, which means they must be numbers without a decimal point. It can be positive or negative, but they have to be integers, all the 3 values. Now, step value, if you don't provide, is going to be taken as +1. And that is the reason I told you it's not necessary that you need to provide the step value, because step value has a default value of +1. Now, what does the range function do? The range function gives me a sequence of values that begin from the begin value and go up till 1 less than the end value, which means it will definitely begin from the begin value, but it will not end at the end value. In fact, it will only go up till one number which appears before the end value. To understand that, let me look at this example, range 1, 6. So what is this function going to give me? It's going to give me a sequence of values that will range from 1 to 5. So not 1 to 6, because we said that the end value is not taken into consideration. So it's going to generate 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Now, why does it go as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Did you specify a step value? No. When you don't specify a step value, the step value by default is 1. So the first number it generated was the begin value, which is 1. How does it generate the second number? 1 plus the step value. So 1 plus 1 gives me 2. 2 plus the step value. So 2 plus 1 gives me 3, which means if you don't specify a step value, it is by default 1, and you would see an increase in the values just by element 1. Okay, let me show you. And another important thing, When you start from 1 and go up to 6 on a number system, what is the direction on the number system? Don't you go in the right direction? What do I mean by the right direction? Don't, sorry, just excuse me. Let me just draw. Isn't the direction in this, I'm talking about the direction in terms of the number system. So when I want to go from 1 to 6, am I not moving in the right direction? Yes. And in the right direction, how does the value increase? By 1. That is the reason the step value 1 will always take you towards the right direction. If your step value is negative, then it takes you to the left direction. Okay, let me just show you another example. It says range 6 comma 1. Now let me just ask you something. 6 comma 1, in which direction am I having, should I be traveling on the number line? If I'm going from 6 to 1, don't you think it will be in the left direction? But if it has to be in the left direction, what should my step value be? Positive or negative? I said negative. Now, since you have not specified the step value here, the step value is positive, which means I cannot start at 6 and go in the positive direction to get me a 1. So in this scenario, what do I get? I get a empty sequence. I'm going to be getting an empty sequence. This range function did not generate any sequence because I cannot go forward from 6 to 1. I can only go backward. And if I have to go backward, the step value minus was required. Clear? Okay. Don't worry. I have some more examples for you. So your range function is going to be clear. Let me just take you to my next screen. It says range 1, 10, 2. First of all, 1 to 10 is which direction? 1 to 10 is going to give me the positive direction. That means the right direction, correct? I have to go like this. Okay, what's your step value? 2. So step value 2 means you have to keep incrementing or going to the right direction. I am supposed to go to the right direction. So what numbers do I get? I get numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So these are the values I will get. If I start at 1, and remember I can't go to 11 because 11 is more than 10, and anyway it wouldn't stop at 10. It would just stop at a number less than 10, 1 less than 10. But I could move ahead because step value was positive and 1 to 10 takes me in the right direction. Okay, let me give you another examples to make things clear. 10, 1, minus 3. 10 to 1, which means which direction am I supposed to be taking? The left direction. Okay. Is the step value negative? Yes. Step value negative gives me elements in the left direction. So I'm going the right way. So what will be my elements? 10. 10 minus 3, 7. 7 minus 3, 4. 4 minus 3 is 1, but it wouldn't stop at 1 because we do not stop at the end value. We just go 1 before it. Is that clear? Okay. Next, we come to another example. It says range 1, 10. Okay, now you tell me 1, 10. In which direction will I have to go if I'm going 1, 10? In the positive direction. Okay, but step value is telling me in the positive means in the right direction, but step is telling me to go minus 2 in the right direction. Minus 2 means go to the left direction, but 1 to 10 tells me go to the right direction. So in this case it is going to be again an empty string. Okay, let me give you another example. Minus 1 to minus 5. First of all, minus 1, if you have to travel from minus 1 to minus 5, which direction am I expected to go? I'm expected to go in the left direction. What is the step value? Positive. Step value tells me go in the right direction, which is again not possible. So again here, I'm going to get an empty sequence. Sorry, not a string. Like I said before, it's going to be an empty sequence. Okay, let me just go ahead. I have range minus 1 to minus, sorry, minus 5 to minus 1. From when you move from minus 5 to minus 1, in which direction am I moving? The right direction. What is the step value given? To the right direction only. Okay, so step value positive means right direction, so possible. Step value positive means right direction here. Let me even show you the direction for the step value, so not possible. Here it says this direction, step value says negative, so not possible. Here step value says negative, so possible. Step value says positive, so possible. So I'm just giving you the number system, what it tells me in which direction to go, and the step value. Okay, so I wanted to go from minus 5 to minus 1. So obviously I'm going to the right direction, and step value is also saying positive. So it's telling you go to the right direction. So obviously this is valid. I mean, it's not going to be giving me an empty sequence. So what will it give me? Minus 5. To this minus 5, you add the step value, which is plus 1. So next number will be minus 4. To that, you add step 1. So you get minus 3, minus 2, but you will not get minus 1 because minus 1 was the end value. You don't stop at the end value. You have to stop at an element before it. Clear? Okay. Let me just give you one more example. Let's say minus 1, minus 5. On the, what do you say? The number line. Minus 5 to minus 1 is this direction. Correct? Step value negative also means this direction. So are the directions the same? Yes, which means it is a possibility. So you start at minus 1. To that minus 1, next time you add a minus 1, it gives me a minus 2, then it gives me a minus 3, then it gives me a minus 4. Will it give me a minus 5? No, I can hear you say no, because you cannot go to minus 5. Minus 5 is the end value. Clear? Okay, now in these functions, I mean, in this function called range, you saw variety. In this scenario, for number 6 and number 7, even if I didn't give the step value, it was fine. But we gave always the start value and the end value. Another example that we see here is, or another form of the range function is, you can write the range function by just specifying one element in bracket. But in that scenario, what does it do? If I write range of 6, it gives me all numbers from 0 to 6, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's not going to 6. Now with this one parameter, we can't specify a step value. If you ever have to specify a step value, you will have to use the methods that we have learned before. This is if you want to go sequentially, either forward, oh, not backward, only forward. Okay, it starts from 0 and it goes up to 1 less than the number you have specified in the range. Clear? So I hope the range function is clear, because the range function, we will be using it in our for loop. So that is the reason I gave you a couple of examples to tell you how the range function works. Okay, let me just take you ahead. Now this is the syntax of the for loop. You write for, that's the keyword. You write the name of any variable that you want to use in your program. You write the keyword in and a sequence. Now a sequence could be a string, a list, or a tuple. If you remember in chapter 2 under data handling, we learned sequence data types were strings, tuples, or lists. Or you could be making use of the range function, because the range function is also giving me a sequence of values. Okay. Now in this chapter, you will be mostly seeing me use the range function, though I'll be giving you one example of string, tuple, or list in the coming slide, but we'll be mostly using the range function. Okay. Then can you see the next line? It said statements to repeat. What is the statement that you would want to repeat? According to my initial example, I wanted to repeat hello everyone multiple times. So print hello everyone would be the statement that I would write in a for loop. You have to note the indentation. Can you see statements to repeat, not written exactly in line with the for, but it's indented inwards. This shows you, or this shows the interpreter, that these lines that are indented in the for loop make or comprise of the body of the loop. And these are the lines that you have to repeat finite number of times. Okay. To understand, I've given you an example here. I wrote for x in, x is my variable. 1, 2, 3, 4, I've written in square brackets. Square brackets, if you remember, according to chapter 2, represents a list. I just need to give a sequence, right? It could be a string, a tuple, or a list, or a range function. I'm just giving you a list. Now, how many elements are there in this list here? 4. Now, this sequence determines how many times the loop is going to be executed. So you wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, which means the loop is going to be executed 4 times. So we already know the number of times the loop will get executed. That is why it's called a counting loop. I know for sure that it's 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, these many times the loop will get executed. Now, how does the for loop work? This variable, this loop variable, which is x here, will take the first element in the sequence. Which is the first element in the sequence? 1. And then it moves to the body of the loop. What is the body of the loop saying? Print the value of x. So what did x get? 1. So it prints 1. After doing the body of the loop, in this example, there is only one statement as the body of the loop. You can have multiple statements also, but remember, they have to be indented. Don't miss the colon here. The colon here says for is a compound statement. What are compound statements? I told you earlier. Statements that are not just single statements, but multiple statements grouped together. You wouldn't have a for without a supporting line below it. So that makes it a group of statements or a compound statement. So after you have done the body of the loop, you go back to the for loop. And what does the for loop do? X now takes the second element in the list. What is the second element in the list? 2. Gets into the loop and prints the value of x, which is 2. Goes back, takes the third element. And finally, you get all numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 printed here. Is that clear? So it's the sequence that determines the values that x will take. And it is the sequence that determines how many times the loop is going to be executed, because the loop will get executed depending upon the number of elements in the sequence. Clear? Okay, let me just show you some more examples. Here, x, previously I was using a list, now I'm using a tuple. So x is the loop variable, the sequence is a tuple with 10, 9, 8, 7. What will x have? X will first take the value 10, get into the loop, it says print x. So when I say print x, what will it print? 10. Then it goes back to the loop, takes the next element, 9, goes back to the loop, takes the next element, 8, goes back to the loop, takes the next element, 7. And then it does no more of the loop because there were only 4 elements in the tuple. So x took all the values of the tuple one at a time. Remember, x will not be 10, 9, 8, 7 at one time. The first time, the first element, the second looping cycle, the second element, the third looping cycle, the third element, and so on. Okay, and here I've made use of a sequence, which is a tuple. Okay, let me give you an example. If your sequence is a string, what does it mean? X will take each and every character of the string. So the first time X gets H, so it prints H, then it prints E, then it prints L, then it prints L, and then it prints O. And how many times was the loop executed? 5 times. Reason being, there were 5 elements in the string or 5 characters in the string. Okay. Now, here I made use of, previously, first example made use of a list. The second one made made use of a tuple. The third one made use of a string. But I said in my programs, I'll be making use of the range function. So let me just show you an example of the range function. What does range, what have we learned? What does range 1, 5 do? Generate numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what's the sequence created? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what does X do? X picks up the first value first, which is 1, gets into the loop, displays 1, then displays 2, then displays 3, then displays 4. So remember, X, the loop variable, gets one element at a time from the sequence, gets into the loop and executes the body of the loop. Here the body of the loop was only print. Another example is okay, I wrote another range function which says 10 comma, I hope you can read it, 10 comma 6 comma minus 1. So what is the sequence of values that this is going to generate? 10 comma 9 comma 8 comma 7. Will it generate 6? No, we always learned it will not go up till the end value 1 before the end value, and x is going to be taking each of these values and finally displaying x. So what's my output going to be is 10, 9, 8, and 7. Now, if you look at all these examples, even before I executed the loop, because I have the sequence and because of the number of elements the sequence generates, I definitely know that this loop will be executed these many times. Okay, therefore, it's called a counting loop. So I hope you have understood the working of a for loop, the role of the variable in the for loop, how does the range function work? Because most of our questions we are going to be doing using the range function. So in my next part of the video, which is for loop part 2, you will be learning some programs that will make use of the for loop and understanding the concept of a for loop. Is that clear? Okay, see you. Bye. See you in the next video.